What's going on, guys and gals? Bonafide Hustler here. I'm here with a special guest, Richard from Flippin4ALivin, and today we're going to be talking about the 8 most resaleable garage sale items that you should be looking for. So I'll introduce my guest today. We have Richard. What's up, Richard? How are you?
I am doing excellent. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Thank
well.
you. Thank you for reaching out to me again. So excited to be chatting with you.
Of course, and you heard him say again, he's been on my channel once before, and that show was a banger of a show. So you can go check out his channel. It's the first link down below. It should be the first link down below. I try to make sure it was the first link down below. So go make sure and subscribe to his channel right now. He is an avid garage sailor, and you do this full time, well, for the most part, because you're doing some other stuff towards the evening parts of the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, summer for sure, full time. I do run before and after school programs. Got a nonprofit corporation, and yeah, I do that as a second job. But this is taking over.
This is the money, right? This is the money thing right here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So he lives in Canada, right? Which is, as far as I know, the place right above the USA, right? But yeah, he lives in Canada. You know, I live in Austin, Texas. We both share the passion of garage sailing. So today we're going to be giving you about 8 items that we really just like we look for very hard at a garage sale. We're going to be echoing off each other. So more of an informal type show, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe you'll learn a tidbit or two. So, you know, if you're enjoying the information, one of the best ways on YouTube to show, instead of a clapping kind of thing, because we don't hear any audio, is to hit the like button as frequently as you can, right? Or make sure it's, you know, that you hit the like button regardless. So how's garage sale season? Let's start it off with a little bit of like friendly talk here, but how is garage sale season over there, Richard, for you right now?
Well, it's a kind of in a bit of a lull right now. July, August, kids are out of school, and we have such a short summer. Like we have 6-7 months without snow, but when it's, like 80 degrees out or higher, is usually only for May, June, July, August, if we're lucky. So it's slow right now because people take off to the lake, lots of fishing, lots of golfing, and not as many yard sales, and it'll pick up again in the beginning of September. So it's slower, but still more than adequate.
Okay. And I'll also take this second for you guys in the crowd. Take a look at Richard's background when he is talking. And if you see something that you like, or, you could just type it out. I remember the last time we had a show, Richard, that, people were all over, like looking at your backgrounds and like seeing cool things. And I was telling Richard, like, my background's like not even as cool as your background, but I'm working on it. I will work on having a cool background. I do have some good posters I need to put up, but your background's like super cool, man. Talk about this Carrie Fisher thing in the background over there.
Carrie Fisher, yeah, I was lucky enough to meet her about 6 months before she left us. We had a comic convention in our city, not a massive one, usually about 25,000-30,000 people go through, but they flew her in to sign autographs, so this was last summer, and I got that printed up on vistaprint.com for $19, and it worked out really good. I don't know if you can see on there, it says, "I buy all my toys here." I did that because I was at the comic convention selling off about 800 Star Wars figures in boxes that I had bought from an estate. So yeah, I had my own booth that was just all Star Wars, and I got her to sign that. So it's a pretty cool experience.
How well did you do with those Star Wars figures? I'm pretty sure people are starting to visualize like, man, that's a lot of figures and stuff. How did you do as opposed to when you walked in? Did you walk out with 400 or 500? What'd you walk back with?
I kind of did the math, and between 70-75% of it sold. So, and it's all gone now. It wasn't the super vintage stuff. It was from 95 to like 2003. There was nothing from the 80s in there, but it was still all boxed, and it was priced, better than anybody else at the convention because I did buy it all from an estate, bulk purchase. So I just went there to blow it out. Yeah, it sold about 6,500 in those 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
What'd you buy it all for?
Well, there was that collection. The guy also had a book collection and the interior of his estate and other collectibles like movie posters and stuff. It was $5,500 for everything. Oh, and a Dungeons and Dragons collection. Like he had about 300 Dungeons and Dragons modules and hardcovers, and a couple hundred figures and stuff.
So you dropped $5,500?
Yeah, I mean, that was a once in a lifetime for me. I went to the garage sale And it was weird. It didn't make sense what was happening here. This lady didn't know anything. Um, had no idea what she was selling, what to price it for. So I just offered my services basically and said, hey, that's underpriced, that you're never going to sell. I just do that sometimes. If I see a really struggling garage sale, I want to help people. I want them to benefit. And it turns out it's a sad story, Chris. It was a separated couple, and he passed away in his early 40s. And she just needs to get rid of everything because she was going to move back home, and she didn't want to be carrying that with her. So
Wow, that's a pretty incredible that you dropped 5,500 on a garage sale, like, or estate sale, garage sale, however you want to
yeah,
say it. But it wasn't a car or a teardrop trailer or something that you bought, right? It wasn't a set of Tiffany lamps or anything. This
yeah.
was like a conglomeration of many things. So I think it's interesting that 5,500 bucks is a pretty big throwdown. What did that feel like to you? Like to throw down 5,500? Was it kind of scary?
It was a little bit scary. Some of it I was unsure. The Dungeons and Dragons stuff, I wasn't really sure. I had a bit of an idea that each book was going to be, because a lot of it was still sealed. This guy was a crazy collector. Like we could do a whole show on just that. So yeah, for sure, when you're throwing down 5,500, you're unsure. But he had kept eBay and Amazon receipts and prints outs of everything that he had bought in his collection. So I had a detailed list. I was able to research it for 24 hours before I pulled the trigger. She didn't end up having the garage sale at all. We just shut the door. We made the deal, and yeah, it took a full year. Like I literally maybe have 20 things left of his, and it would be over 20,000 for sure that I got back. So yeah, it
Wow.
was.
There's some people in the feed. They're like, "Yeah, it's a lot." Darren Eckelman saying $5,500 cash money? Question mark. And Bobby Moon says, "Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot, man. That's a
That's a
lot."
one-time thing though. Once in 20 years. I'm looking for that opportunity again though because it was pretty fantastic.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you kind of guys got a little bit of intro on Richard and what he's all about. He's about garage selling. He lives in Canada. He makes it happen. And the funny thing is, his garage sale season is not year round, right, Richard?
No, no, it's mid-April to end of October if I'm lucky. Yeah.
So you have a window to really, really strike while it's hot, right?
Yeah, I do. And you know what? It looks a little bit like I'm a hoarder in here right now. I know a lot of people talk about the death piles and they don't want to be sitting on things. But yeah, I got to hit it really hard for like 4 months for sure. And little stuff like this, we're going to talk about stuff like this later, but Pokemon DS games and box DVD sets and small stuff. I basically won't sell a lot of that in summer. I will hoard all that for fourth quarter and for winter. And I will just sell enough to make that probably double my money, but sit on the little things so I still have income in the winter because yeah, you're not going to find this stuff, at Sally Ann's, so Salvation Armies or thrift stores. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I do it for me personally.
Right. There's a comment that just came in and says, makes sense to get a stockpile, considering the conditions that you're pressed up against, which is cool. So let's talk about real quick, before we get into these 8 items that are the most resellable items from garage sales. What are the avenues that you resell on? Is it a local version of Craigslist? Does Craigslist even exist in Canada? There's a Kijiji thing, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, you got it. Kijiji is the equivalent of Craigslist. I think they're actually owned by eBay. So I pretty much sell it all on Facebook, Kijiji, and eBay. But in the summer, like it's probably 80% just locally. Like I do really well. I don't know if it's the size of my city that just makes it perfect, or if it's the products I buy. Like I really focus on things that people can use on an everyday basis. If there's a great deal on an antique or a collectible, I'll grab it. But it's my theory that only 1 or 2 out of 100 people care about that stuff. The other 98 people want something they can use today that's applicable to their life. So that's what I really focus on buying and flipping that stuff really quick on a lot of Facebook buy and sell pages.
Okay, cool. And what's your vehicle of choice that you go around to these garage sales with again?
It's a Ford Ranger. Yeah.
Do you have a cover? From the last time that we talked, you didn't have a cover on this thing. You don't have a bed cover. You don't have a tonneau cover, or I guess that's what they call it. Like,
Yeah.
you have it. It's open though, right?
She's wide open. I can stack it higher that way.
Oh my gosh, stack it
When I,
higher, but lose it much faster too, right?
Yeah, I well, you were kind of ribbing me last time about that, and oddly enough, last week I was in a hurry. I bought a dresser set, a vintage dresser set from the '70s, and I stuck them in the back, and I started driving, and I didn't point the drawers in towards each other because I was
Right.
in such a hurry, and I turned a corner, and one of the drawers just went flying right out onto the road. I put it back together though, and 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 it sold and moved on to the next thing. So yeah, you can keep bugging me. I don't have a cap. When I got 8 or 10 bikes in there and a dresser and a couch, it's not all gonna fit if I have a cap on it. So
I think it's a good idea. My brother has a little bed cover, and it seems to do well for him. So let's get to the first item real quick when it comes to garage sales and the most resaleable items. Give me 1 second real quick. I had a little weird text coming in. Okay, so everyone knows me for being into bikes, and I'm telling you guys right now, and I'm not trying to tout anything that I've built or anything like that, but I do have a bike guide out there, and it's down below, so you can go check it out if you want to. But bikes are absolutely one of those things that if you live in a good bike town and there's season out, how do I say it? If you observe that people around your town are biking and you see road bikers and you see mountain biking trails and you see people, maybe you have a boardwalk that goes through the downtown or something like that, or something that goes around a coastline or something, you probably live in a decent bike town, and in a decent bike town you should be looking for bikes at garage sales. So bikes definitely it was the lead thing that got me started. Even before I became the bona fide hustler on YouTube or anything like that, I was hustling bikes, and I still to this day hustle bikes. So when I go to garage sales, it is a absolute thing that I look for. It's usually in the background. They're never really in the foreground. Like, they're usually way in the background. But when I see a good bike, like, I'm automatically like getting really excited, because when it comes down to like how many bikes have ever been returned to me ever, one almost came back, actually two. Okay. One of those bikes came from Craigslist and the other one came from a pawn shop. But outside of that, the thousands of bikes that I have flipped, not a single one has been returned. So I consider that a really good hustle, or a good thing to start looking for. I've probably made somewhere in the vicinity of 100K or so, right around there, just reselling bikes in the past 12 years. So I think it's a pretty good thing to do. I think it's one of those things that if you go to a garage sale to get a little bit more educated on bikes, absolutely, I think is one of the most amazing resale opportunities out there. And I think a lot of times people associate a bike to be kind of something big, and they don't want to take it back into their garage, right? So they're like, we got to get rid of it. So today on this show, I wanted to give you maybe like highlights of the type of bikes that I look for, like, more than anything. Now, one of these bikes is actually in the 100 Amazing Items to Resell guides, second link down below. But that's aside the fact. I want to talk about one really important bike, which I do have on Google here, that I wanted to show you. So right here we have an Electro Townie. This is probably one of the most important bikes to start looking for in your town. If your bike town's semi-okay, like, this bike will sell very well. It comes in many different configurations: single speed, 3-speed, 7-speed configurations, with or without front shocks, with or without step-through frame. So if you're a man or a woman, like, still, like, they make a Electro Townie for you. But it's a really awesome upright, basically a hybrid bike with what's called pedal forward design. So it's uber comfortable to ride this thing around. Very easy to operate, a lot of fun. If you find an Electro Townie sub $100, you can typically sell them for $200 or more. The highest Electro Townie I've ever sold was like $400. So when they start being in the $400 range, you're starting to deal with like the top level model, which is usually about $700 in a bike store. That's one of those bikes that you absolutely have to be looking for. Another kind of bike that I look for are kids' bikes, right? And kids' bikes typically go pretty cheap at garage sales, but there are only 2 or 3 real models that I'm looking for, and they're made by these 2 brands. So one is Trek and one is Specialized. Trek makes a series of bikes called the MT220s. And that is a pretty good model right there to look for. Specialized makes ones called Hot Rocks, and Hot Rocks are usually, they command pretty big money if you can resell them. And then there's another one called the Trek Jet, and that one's pretty good as well. Outside of that, I really wouldn't mess with any other kids' bikes out there. Like, those are the staple kind of bikes that have good markets in most towns across America. So if you're going to go to garage sales and you're looking for at least the top 8 items, like, I would comfortably say and confidently say that bikes would have to be one of the top things on my list, if not the highest thing on my list. So yeah, that's when, and you and I, Richard, were talking about this earlier before the show even started, but you hustle bikes as well, right?
I definitely do. Like I don't know the high end stuff like you do, but I do really, really well with bikes. And I think a lot of the reason is, and even late in the day, I'll come to a yard sale and there'll be bikes sitting around for cheap, 5, 10, 20, $25. And I think it's such a huge benefit to have a vehicle that you can carry bikes in, because 9 out of 10 people that go to yard sales just, to go to yard sales, they don't have the resources to get that bike home. So it's still sitting there later in the day for guys like you or me to pick them up. So,
Wow.
um, sorry, I just got to check something out here on my laptop. It says it wants to restart. That would be bad.
Whoa.
That'd be bad timing.
Well, if you have to get out and come back in, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah. So like just real quick, like this bike here, can you see it on there?
Oh yeah, as long as you're talking, we can see it.
Yeah, like those vintage. This bike, the lady had it for $5. I literally, she probably would have gave it to me if I hesitated a little bit more. But I just gave that a quick polish and threw that up for $75, and it was gone within 24 hours. And so those are the kind of bikes I like to flip. She actually had these two also. I got the three bikes all together. They're just generic Walmart brands, but if you can get bikes like that for $5 or $10, I suggest you buy them as long as the chain is there and the tires aren't flat. You know, I generally don't have a bike longer than 24 hours, and I think it's because I'm buying it right and pricing it right. Sticking, a lot of people like spending $50 on a bike, so.
Nice. Yeah, bikes are definitely one of those things you want to start looking for. If you had to like get away from, let's say, the Electro Townie or these Trek Jets or what the typical type of cruiser bike that he was showing you on the first pick, a steel frame vintage road bike is always going to be a good bet. And typically brands that are not maybe American house-made brands. So you're looking at like Panasonic, Miata, Maruishis, Seratas, like all those kind of like steel frame road bikes are pretty good. Peugeot, those command pretty decent money in relatively decent bike towns. So you can look for that as well. They just look like road bikes, but they're made out of steel, and they're generally heavier than anything out in the road now that is road bike related, because most of everything now is like aluminum or carbon. So anyway, definitely something to look forward to. Hustling. If you ever need any more clarification on that, I could see about doing maybe a series of shows regarding bikes if I get enough people interested about that kind of stuff. But of course, I did work on a bike guide that I worked on for what seemed to be 3 to 4 months, and it is available for purchase down below. So you can go check it out if you want to. It's pretty awesome, and it definitely tells you also how to do basic repair, things to really get your bike business going. So I want to talk about a question that I got, Richard, and it's interesting. We can both echo in on this one. But 10K on the Bay says, can I ask what your minimum ROI is on a bike? Like if it's 50 or 100 and it sells for 200, would you pass? If it's 50 or 100 and I know I could sell it for 200, I'm going to buy it, because like I said, it's a kind of one and done kind of thing. So anytime you convert 50 into 200, you've basically, 300% profit. You made 300% profit, and that's good, especially on an item that has no returns, like no chance of returns. And it's just one and done. Like I like that. Yeah, you have to meet somewhere real quick, but outside of that, as long as the bike is working okay, I would take that deal all day. Currently working right now on a bike that is, I think I bought it for like 140, and I think it definitely has a market at 200, like no problem, So you can do the math on that. 140 to 200, it's only $60, right? But I know it's a solid $60. I know I'm going to get it, so I'd get into that one all day. It just depends. Like an Electro Townie that's $100, and I can sell it for 150 or 200 or something like that. Like I'll get into that because it's a solid market. Richard, what about you when it comes to your minimum ROI on bikes? Do you kind of have one, or do you kind of just know like this is just too cheap, I have to buy this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for everybody. I kind of always tell myself I'll never leave a $20 bill behind. But to explain that, I won't spend $100 to make 120, to sell it for 120. But if there's a bike for $10, I know I can flip for 30, a kid's bike, I'll instantly buy it. I can buy it for, 40 and sell it for 80. I like to at least double my money for sure, but it seems the stuff I'm getting, it's way more, 5, 10 times my money. Like you mentioned, Peugeot, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Peugeot.
I bought one of those at the start of the summer for $10. A guy had a road bike, like real skinny tires. I don't want to sound too naive. It wasn't like a 10 speed, and it wasn't like a racing bike. But $10, and I only sold it for 75 because I was happy making $65 in about 2 hours. But you're telling me that could have been worth a lot more, that name?
A Peugeot, so a Peugeot like upright cruiser kind of bike, not a vintage 10-speed looking Peugeot.
Yeah,
Okay, usually a
okay.
vintage 10-speed Peugeot, in here in this town would go no less than 120, 140, right?
Yeah.
But Peugeot also has made step-through type cruiser bikes, which allow the rider
Okay.
to be a little bit more upright standing,
Sure.
and seating, or should I say. And
Yeah.
those don't command very much, right? Peugeot was really always known for being a road bike racing brand.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Just
yeah, I think you still did well for 2 hours.
yeah.
I would have taken that hustle all day too.
Oh, for sure.
Let's talk about what's next on the list. So you have something you want to talk about real quick. Some of the things that you consider very resaleable garage sale items. Like what's the second one on your list? What's the first one on your
Well,
list, but the second one we're
I
talking
don't think this
about?
is going to come as a surprise to anybody, but I want to talk about them anyways. And it's video games, right? I mean, everybody wants to snag the old Nintendos.
Yeah, you got a lot of GameCube ones there, man. Jeez.
Yeah, so this was just a recent find. I think I was in my episode from last week or the week before. This is what I have left. It was about just over 100 games. No, sorry. It was $100 for about 67 games, I think it was. So like $1.50 a game. But most of them were sealed. I don't know if you can tell in the picture. These are
What?
all
Okay,
still.
wait. What's the red one? What's the red one for from the top? What does that one say?
That is GameCube Dave Mirra 2.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was something else, but
Oh yeah, like there's no super great Mario games in here stuff, but the bottom line is obviously we all know to buy video games. I know a lot of people shy away from PlayStation 2, but start looking a little closer at those. Like a lot of the first person and anime type games, ones like these ones here, even though they're PlayStation 2, I mean stuff with this kind of look, anime or first person fantasy games. I mean, PlayStation 2 has a lot of games that are 20, 30, 40, $50 games, and people just include them in their pile with the sports games for $1, $1 across the board. Don't ever pass those up. And another reason I'll never pass up on a video game for $1 is because I think they really upsell a system. You might have a system lying around. I got a PlayStation 2 system sitting right over there. If I throw 5 generic games in it that I paid $5 for, now I can turn the price of that system from $30 or $40 to $50 or $60, and it's going to sell way faster at 50 or 60 than it would have at 30 without any games. So a lot of people shy away from $1 PlayStation 2 games. Not me. I'll take them all day long.
well, that's
And
cool.
just, yeah.
So wait, do you find them a whole lot? Because I know competition is pretty crazy,
Well, I find a lot of PlayStation 2 ones because, yeah, you're right. I mean, competition is bonkers, but a lot of people pass over those PlayStation 2 because they don't realize that there's titles in there that are worth 40 and $50, and they maybe, don't have that game plan in advance. You're never going to lose on a video game for $1 unless you don't look at it and it's totally scratched and it's not going to work. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Video games.
Oh man. If you're not hustling video games at a garage sale, you are making a huge mistake. But you might also be like, well, I can't even find a bona fide. Like it's that hard. And here in the States, like it gets kind of tough. Like there are people kind of like I am with bikes that really search and search and search. And they got every search term known to man on a Saturday morning, like, or a Friday night preparing into their Saturday morning list. Like they got everything ready. And so the only good thing about it is if you live in a garage sale town that has competition, right? Do a search for some video game stuff and see how much stuff pops up. And it's like not all of the competition can be at every garage sale, right? So,
No,
take
for
a
sure.
couple hunches and guesses and see where you can be. I find that with video games, and I wrote, the funny thing is I had video games as one of my things as well. And Richard decided to cheat. No, I'm just kidding. But I had video games as well, and I wrote down high competition, but you can also attain video games by analyzing the people. They might not even be out at the garage sale, but if you can kind of analyze the people a little bit, you can kind of be like, hey, do you guys have any video games that you want to sell? And usually the kids that are playing with their Nerf guns or whatever will be like, yeah, mommy, can I sell the video games? And she'll be like, yeah, get that crap out of here, you know, and they'll run into the house, come out with a stack of video games. And depending on, you know, how you evaluate your risk and everything, you might want to get into those kind of things. But that's definitely one of those things I think on a more regular basis you should be doing, is asking for video games. I find a decent amount just by doing that. It's just it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game any way you look at it. If you don't ask, you certainly don't get any of it. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you've automatically lost. But I've gotten like leads through that. And in fact, the funny thing is I've gotten more leads out of that than I actually have had kids running out with video games. A lot of times the kids will run out with just some random like Call of Duty thing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't want it, you know. But every now and then they come out with like something really, really good. So
yeah, and I just want to throw in one more pointer here, Chris. Along that lines, this worked for me this week in a scenario. There was a small block sale, and my number one, I'm not joking, my number one competitor for video games. We both just exited two garage sales, 3 houses apart, moving towards each other. He picked something up from here. I picked something up from here. We passed each other, showed each other. I went to the sale that he was just at because, of course, I buy everything. I'm not just stuck on video games. And I asked. I said, hey, my buddy was just here, and I assume he already asked you if you had any older video games. And she was like, no, I don't. Actually, I have a Nintendo 64.
Jeez.
Yeah, he didn't ask. He didn't take 3 seconds to ask. And she said, I have a Nintendo 64, but I don't think I want to sell. And the pointer I want to give is when people say that, say, hey, that's okay. I don't need the system. I would just like a few more games for my collection. You know, I don't need the system. I already have it. She's like, well, yeah, I got some games I don't play. So she ran inside and she brought out 8 games and sold them to me for $1 a piece.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. And I went and tracked my nemesis down and I showed him. So it was pretty good time.
Dude, that's insane. I've had the N64 one many times, but usually when someone says like, yeah, I got an N64 here in Austin, Texas, like for some reason, like that's a very coveted system. Like it's very like, I'm keeping that one. I hear that more than NES is an N64. Like I'm keeping it. I'm keeping all the games, or my boyfriend won't let me sell it. Like he's too attached to it. I hear that quite often. But an N64 system, if you've never played it, like that was one of the last systems I ever played. And I just remember being in like college dorms playing the hell out of that, and 007 and all these games that were, it was mostly 007. And it was just weird because like the controller was weird and it had an inverted kind of gun. And all I remember is like, you can play N64 007 GoldenEye with this thing called slaps. I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's where you don't have a weapon. You go around just using your hand. So funny. You really have to like go to a bunch of people and like get right up to him. If you can just slap him really good, like you can kill him. But I thought that was a really fun way to play that game. Now I tried playing that game like 4 years ago because I have it here, and I tried playing it again like to get the feeling back, and it's just not the same. Like video games have just matured so much since then that it's not the same. But it's, back then you knew no better. You were just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, because that's all you knew. But anyway, so
I think it's great to have a video game collection. Some people have huge collections, but I'm still a firm believer. One of those games, if you're never going to play it and you're thinking, oh, well, this game's going to appreciate from $20 to $50 to $100 over the next decade, you might be right, but sell that game for $20, buy a bike that you can flip for $50, and then buy another bike for $50 that you're flipping for $200, and you've got $200 in a week instead of waiting 10 years.
I like your point. I like your point, and I'm going to tell you right now what I'm going to do. I have to respectfully disagree a tiny bit, and here's why. Because if you grew up, and this only pertains to people that really grew up with it, right, or had some sort of emotional attachment to the video game itself, right? So for me, the video games that I've kept have mostly been Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 2s, Double Dragons, Ninja Gaidens, like Mario, Metroid, things like that. GoldenEye, but like I don't care about the other ones. I have Mario Kart. Whatever I was really into, like I kept those, right? And I know your point is like sell it now so you can get the money and you can flip it like a bazillion times over, and before you know it, you'll have a mansion on the seashore, And then if you did it the first way, you would just have a pile of video games, right? But there's something about having nostalgic stuff in your possession, whether it's as simple as a poster or the Carrie Fisher thing, it's something, right? Something nostalgic that brings you back to your roots, I think it's important to have that around so you never lose touch of where you were or where you've come from, right? Maybe I'm just thinking too deep about it, but I
Well,
know I'm not the only person out there that I'm not a video game collector,
yeah.
but I like having certain ones. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of this stuff has nostalgic value for me. That's why it's up there, right? So I completely agree. But I'm just, yeah, keep what you like for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But people who are hoarding it, thinking that it's going to be their retirement someday,
Yeah, I don't know about that part.
that's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So,
So you into that starting lineup stuff behind you? Do you like that? Is that what
you
it
know what?
is?
No, that's a little bit of a miss for me. I'm not afraid to say I screwed up on one. I bought all those. They're about 20-year-old starting lineup, and they're all names I recognized, baseball and football. Um, so I bought them for $3 a piece. I just didn't think that there was any way I could lose on it. And at the end of the day, I can't lose. I could get $5 a piece for them anytime I wanted, but I was thinking I might, get 15, 20 a piece. So yeah, I'm not into them. They're just names I recognize growing up with, and I sold a couple things off of there, so I put those up to fill the space.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's get to item number 3. So this is one of the ones I absolutely look for. I think this is like garage sale gold. See, we're just talking about video games. We talked about bikes. And I definitely think this is gold, but more specifically for really Amazon. So if you're not selling on Amazon, like it might not pertain to you, but digital voice recorder, okay? I like these a lot. I like this style, which has solid state memory inside. And I like the other style too. It's also commonly referred to as micro cassette recorder, which takes the small micro cassettes. But this is a digital voice recorder. It looks like this. I mean, usually made by Olympus or Sony or one of those brands. And those are pretty much the two brands you kind of want to stick with, right? They do make digital voice recorders that are like a little bit more super high end by companies like Zoom or something like that. But I just typed it into Google and like literally all that comes up is like Sony and Olympus's. So if you're going to be out to the resale game and you're trying to hustle some of this stuff and put it to Amazon, like these two brands are pretty much where you want to start. I wouldn't go into like RCA's or Kobe's or any of those other sub things. Like I would stick with the good stuff. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised with these solid state digital voice recorders will go for. Now, solid state versus microcassette, what the hell does that even mean? Well, solid state is kind of like it's like a laptop. It's like an SD card. Like there's no rotating assembly inside. It's just the memory is easily accessible. It's fast, and it's basically on a chip that's inside. If it kind of serves me right, there's no real rotating hard drive in there, and so they're just very fast. Like through the menu functions, through everything, extremely fast units. Now, a little bit slower type units are going to be the micro cassette recorders, but those can even sell for usually 40 and up on Amazon, and those brands are usually Panasonic, Sony. There's Olympus. There's a couple others, but anyway. Those are pretty good. You can go check that stuff out. It's definitely stuff I think is a little bit more under the radar than like a video game or a bike. Like these things are going to be like way under the radar. These are always like $1 or $2. And I've sold, my highest sold one ever was $179. I remember that. It was a red Sony that I found at a Goodwill for like $4 when the second Green Room meetup came into town. So, just kind of shows you like the power of these kind of things. One of the things I want to talk to you about is if you're going to send it to Amazon, like I don't send them in with batteries, and I disclose that in the description. I also clear out any data that's on the hard drive. Okay, so that's really important to clear out the data. That's super super important. Now, if you're dealing with the micro cassette recorders, I don't include a tape. I don't include batteries, and I also try to make sure that the VOR function works. Now, what the hell is a VOR? Do you know what VOR is, Richard, when it comes to those things?
I do not.
So most of the good ones will come with what's called a VOR function or some sort of hybrid function that alludes to voice-operated recording, okay? It's basically like if you were to take the unit and you're in a classroom setting and you're relatively close to the front, you would theoretically set the unit down on the table, right? And as soon as the person speaks, it starts recording, voice-operated recording, right? Some people call it VAR, voice-activated recording, but you want to test that thing out because every now and then you'll come across a unit where the VOR or the VAR does not work at all, and you wouldn't want to send that one in. In fact, you just want to take that one and throw it straight to the trash. But when the VOR is recording properly, as soon as the person's talking, it starts recording, right? But as soon as the person stops, and maybe mumbles a little bit, is like adjusting a slide or some part of the presentation, it stops. And as soon as the person resumes the content again, it starts up again. So when you go for playback functions, you don't have these gaps of weird, hissing or weird, just dead space. It just fills it all up. It's like one big lecture. So think about that when you are sending these off to Amazon. A lot of times I just put, does not come with batteries, tested, unit only, comes with lanyard cord. Sometimes I have a cord, but no manual included. Like that's a kind of important thing to put, because sometimes people are they don't know how to work these things, So when I'm in Amazon, I 100% make sure to describe exactly what's in the bubble wrap, because I always bubble wrap it when I send them in. So that I think is like super gold. Typically, those are going to be, 100K or less in electronics, typically almost all of them. So that's pretty good stuff to me. I like it, and hardly any restrictions in those. I don't think so yet. So definitely something good. What do you have as your second thing?
Well, I got one of those tucked away, a voice recorder somewhere back in my garage. I got to dig it out so you can tell me what it's worth. But
I'll look at it, man, for sure.
But yeah, I'm more doing show and tell. I'm old school. It's like I'm in grade 2 doing my show and tell on YouTube, and you're showing this awesome stuff on the internet. I mean, again, this is not going to surprise anybody that board games are a great thing to find at yard sales. They're typically always just $1 or $2, and of course, make sure that the pieces are in there. You don't want to throw away that $2, but don't waste a lot of time. If it looks like trash, just move on. But I really like to step it up and get into the branded stuff. I don't know if you can see all of these here.
Yeah,
like
I see them.
Transformers chests and Lord of the Rings chests and all the different Monopolies. I mean, this one was dedicated just to Notre Dame alumni or something, this Irishopoly. So I really like to stick with the branded names, and everything here I paid $2 or less for, except for the chess sets. They were never opened or played with. They were open. There's no cellophane on, for $5. And everything here is a minimum 10 times my markup, except, again, back to these. They're only worth $30 a piece, the Transformers and Lord of the Rings chess set. Now, what I wanted to mention, though, is a lot of people, depending on your market, don't totally discount selling these things locally. Everybody thinks throw it up on eBay or Amazon right away. And, I like to do the math kind of in my head after doing this for 20 years. When I buy something, I think, how many people use board games? And again, the number in my head comes up big. Like 8 out of 10 people will still play a board game at some point in their life. And if you can establish in your own brain that, at least 50% of the people in the world in general that are buying things are going to use or need what you're selling, then try selling it local first. Save yourself the shipping, save yourself the packing and the fees and all that hassle. All these I'm going to sell locally, except for probably the Pilsner Snakes and Ladders type game, because I did get 3 of those, so I'm going to put it up on eBay. But yeah, and when you do sell them locally, I'll lay all of these out on the floor in one picture. I'll put out 10 or 12 games and sell them all in one posting on Craigslist. They don't have to buy all of them, but rather than having 12 separate listings.
So let me ask you this, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Do you put them all on one listing and then you say it's a lot, or do you put them all in one listing and you say this is what's up for grabs, and you put sold as they sell in the listing?
That's exactly. The second is what you said.
Okay.
Chris. Yeah, I'll put them all up and they'll have different prices. And again, this is something I'm going to put on Facebook. And
prices, you're not trying to get eBay prices, right? You're trying to get a little bit less than eBay prices?
Yeah, absolutely. Like these will go on for 25. I'll take 20. So probably only 25% less than an eBay price for this stuff. But no shipping, no fees. So I will flip it locally and not, take 5% less than I would ultimately get from eBay. So yeah, try and get the branded stuff. And I suggest you, again, post them all together, and don't be afraid to try locally first. It doesn't cost anything to post them locally on a Facebook buy and sell. I don't know. Are they not big in your area?
No, they are big. It's just like, I always like to say it this way. There are a million ways to make money. There's just not a million minutes in the day. Like it's just not. but yeah, they're about buy and trade, buy, sell, trade, local. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I see them all the time. And I think it's a place where a lot of resellers go to as well. Like, I think it's a lot more reseller oriented than uh, general Craigslist, or maybe for you,
Mhm.
Kijiji, right, or something like that. Like, if you go
Right.
to general Craigslist, there's a lot of people that are, yeah, there's some resellers on there, but I would say the vast majority of people that are putting stuff up on there are probably people that actually just want to get money for some of their things, but they're not resellers at all.
Mhm.
But in these buy, sell, local trade things that I've seen, I've noticed that there are a fair amount of resellers in there, like over 50%. So one of the things that I personally don't like, and I put it in my videos here and there, is that I really don't like buying from resellers. And I might be weird, like I might be really, really weird about that, but it's just one of those things. Like, I start thinking like, well, if you didn't want to sell it, like, why do I want to buy it? Like,
Mhm.
like, what's wrong with the item? What am I going to find out? What mystery am I going to uncover when I bring it home? And I start figuring that stuff out, and I start going, you know what? I've been in this situation before, and it's never a good situation for me, at least. And when I go to Austin, when I'm garage sailing on a Saturday morning here in Austin, Texas, like, I can tell a reseller garage sale from a mile away. I just know it.
For sure.
It's like way organized. There's like everything's like super organized. There's
Yeah.
boxes on the ground. It just screams reseller, and it screams like. Now, that's not to say that for me, my opportunities are a little bit different than maybe y'all's out there, right? I'm speaking to the public, not so much to you, Richard, but
Yeah.
um, I live in a town that is great for garage sales, right? And things are very tight knit. So like, I can say, oh, I'm not going to go to that garage sale, and I'll be in another one within like minutes, right? But some people don't get that kind of like that opportunity. They go, okay, if I don't see this one, the next one is 10 minutes down the road. So
Mhm.
I get that you might have to stop at each garage sale and take a look what's in the boxes, even if it's a reseller garage sale. But most people that have ever hustled with me in the hot seat or have visited Austin, Texas, know that it is a good garage selling town. There's certainly no Naples, Florida, or anything like that, but it's good. Like, it's not bad. So I can afford to do things like that and afford to make a statement like that because I know there's just another garage sale right down the road.
Yeah.
So Garage Flips is saying, hi, Chris, and hi, Rich.
Hey.
You know him, right? Lonnie, Garage Sale
Yeah.
Flips.
Yeah.
What's up, Lonnie? Good to see you, man. Okay, so that's what you had to talk about was board games, and I want to echo in a little bit about that. Anytime you see Monopoly, not Monopoly, but like Operation and CNET and stuff like that, I tend to stay away from like some of the big mainstream ones like Friends CNET or Seinfeld CNET. Like, who cares? Like, I just don't mess with those. But there's certain ones like Harry Potter CNET. There's like SpongeBob Operation. There's certain really super collectible ones within each genre, right? I don't know how to really explain it very well, but every like Scrabble has a certain Scrabble, like edition Scrabble, that's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Every Monopoly is going to have one that's like highly wanted. And to echo even more on board games, every really good board game, whether it's Monopoly or Scrabble, or what's another like real staple board game that everybody plays. But anyway, they make Franklin Mint. They're called Franklin Mint editions. And these are like encased in wood, and they have like 24 karat gold tiles, and like they are like awesome, awesome stuff that's usually sold at like specialty stores only, that you might come across at a garage sale. I've come across two of them, and they were incomplete, and they still sold for good money. So there's always a pinnacle board game kind of stuff, and a lot of times it's like the wood ones, and but it's only made in like the really, really good games, I've noticed. Battleship is one of them too. Yeah. So, oh yeah, Battleship's one of them for sure. Interesting. So I'll go into one real quick. I think everyone's going to know my fourth one, but I guess we're on item number 3 or 4. What are we on?
Maybe 5 even. Who started?
I started with bikes. You went to video games, right?
Yeah.
I went to digital voice recorders, and then you talked
games.
about board games. Okay, yeah, we're on 5. Okay, cool. Good. So this is one that I think is very undervalued. I like this. I've been doing this for many years, like this one thing. I think a lot of people that know my channel know that I do this, right? But I don't think they're going to know that I want to say this. But hiking boots, all right? Hiking boots, work boots, hunting boots, and athletic shoes. Why? Because almost every time at a garage sale, and notice how I didn't say cowboy boots, because cowboy boots are good. A lot of times they can be very overpriced at a garage sale, thus leading you to like just say, I can't, no. But like hunting boots and hiking boots and athletic shoes, almost always are like $5 and less. Like I've noticed this, like they're just super cheap. And a lot of these things can be just highly collectible things that people just want, or it satisfies a certain look that they're trying to achieve when it comes to fashion. So I'm talking about things like Danner boots, random Irish setter boots. You ever heard about Irish setter boots, Rich? They're
I've
like,
heard of them. I've never worn them.
yeah, they're cool looking. Polo chukkas from back in the day, vintage Timberland Euro hikers, athletic shoes that are, like, I don't know. There's so many different ones out there. I used to hustle the crap out of Vibram Five Fingers. You know what those are, right? Those like they're shoes that look like feet,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're super uncomfortable. But like I used to hustle the hell out of those. I hustled the hell out of Asics, Hoka One Ones. But yeah, I think they're very undervalued. Like most people will never even get close to a thrift store price with shoes in this town, at least. And I've noticed that, and I'm like, God, like when I go to a garage sale, it's one of the leading things I'm looking for are good shoes or boots, or something like that. So this is what I wrote down. Always cheap, easy to ship too, right? Easy to ship. At least here in the US, we have USPS free shoe boxes that you can get on the site. And those are freaking a lifesaver.
Like you can just
And
take as many as you want
well,
of
you
those
don't go
shoe
to the post
boxes.
office and take them, but like you order them in quantities of 10 or 25 off of USPS.com,
Oh,
and
I
they get
see
to
what
your
you mean.
house within like 5 days. But yeah, I mean, like it can even be as shoes like Vans or Converse, like themed Converse, themed Vans, Z Coil shoes. Like, God, there's so many out
Mhm.
there that if you go to a garage sale, it's like never more than $5. So I get all jazzed up when I go to these things and I find a decent pair, something that's left behind. Like, oh, you know how everyone's got, like, I know I'm not the only person that has a ton of shoes. Like I have a ton of shoes. Like I don't like shoes, but I have a shoe for every occasion. And all my shoes are about 80% are probably thrifted, and they're all really decent shoes. Like I could resell them for more right now. But there are some that I just don't get to, right? There's some that I
Yeah.
don't wear. And so I think that's the same kind of scenario with a lot of people out there that are having garage sales. They're like, yeah, there's these great shoes or great this or that. I just don't wear it or I don't use it. And they end up at a garage sale for like $1 or $2. It's crazy. It blows my mind. Um, but anyway, so that is pretty much my fifth one are shoes. They have good markets if you know what you're looking at. It's a very broad statement to say, I understand. But yeah, definitely look a little bit more into shoes, hiking boots, work boots, hunting boots. Yeah. All right.
Like for the most part, you're getting like 10 times your money on
Oh
shoes.
man, dude, shoes are always like really good. You have to understand, like, a typical shoe flip for me from a thrift store would be like if I go to a Goodwill, like there's a flip I call the 10 to 50 flip, right? It's buying a shoe for 10, you flip it for 50, you walk away with about 25, all said and done. Once
Mhm.
it ships out, like that's just a very repeatable flip that I do all the time. But when I go to garage sale, like that flip is, 2 to 50 and it's 2 to 100. Like it's usually those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. Like it's just a much more there's like zero risk. Well, there's never really any risk anyway, but yeah, it's just a fun thing. And I have probably, what do I have? 15, 20 pairs like in the garage that are prepackaged, ready to go, like among other items that are up on my garage sale wall. So I like them. And, it's super streamlined. Like USPS streamlines it for you. Like they have boxes ready for you they fit most shoes. Like it's good. So
How much?
anyway,
I'm just curious. I don't want to get too off track. How much is it to ship a pair of shoes across, a couple
I shipped
states?
one. I shipped a pair off yesterday, and I think maybe two. What is it? Two yesterday. Anyway, I shipped something off yesterday in a shoebox. I know that it was $9.73.
Yeah.
I want to say both
Or,
of the things that I shipped off yesterday were $9.73, which is very awkward. And I can't remember. I can't. I know one of them was a shoe. One of them was a Hoka 1-1 Bondi 3 size 7. But the other one, I can't remember what the hell the other thing was. I just know that it was the same price, and it struck me as kind of odd. I was like, why the hell are these? That's weird.
our shipping
So,
costs seem to be about double here in Canada. Like it's going
really?
to cost me
But you're in
20
the middle
bucks.
of Canada, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is exactly with our Canadian Postal Service, but it's for sure going to cost me 20 bucks to get a pair of shoes across the border. So from Canada to the
Wow.
US.
Yeah.
Eats into the profit a little bit. I think that's why I try so hard to just push everything on the local sites until winter comes, and then yeah, flip a lot more on eBay.
Right. When I get into like the hunting ones or the, insulated hiking boots or insulated hunting boots or hiking boots, those are typically going to be 3 to 5 pounds, going out, and those usually cannot fit in the USPS shipping box, and those I almost always go Smart Post FedEx with them because they're somewhere around the $9 to like $13 mark. So
Right.
anyway, Hari says, yeah, Canada sucks for eBay. Anyway, what's the important thing to take away from this show is just think about the things that we're talking about, the 8 items, and think about how you can apply that to your town and see if you can get some of those things under your belt. By now, most of the people probably have, but I think it's important. So what's the 6th item we're going to talk about?
Well, a bit of a curveball. I don't think I mentioned this, but golf clubs.
Oh, yeah.
Sporting equipment in general, but I just do so much with golf, and it's a short window for me. Again, with our summers, like maybe 3 months that I can really push golf clubs hard. But I'm sure I sell probably 2 sets per week, and they're all local.
Sets.
Yeah, I'm not shipping the sets. I'm selling those all local. Like, just for example, this set right here, it's a very generic Ram set of golf clubs, something that they would sell at your local Walmart or Target or whatever. But what I want to suggest on this, again, kind of the same theme as the video games. That set I just showed you, the bag and the 2 drivers I bought for $5 separately. Then at another sale, I got a set of just irons for $10 and a putter from another sale for $2. And if you have the space to store this stuff, just because a set's not complete at the garage sale, if it's the right price, don't be afraid to buy it. So I pieced all that together, cost me $17 and $75 out the door. It was gone, just under $58 profit. Again, no shipping. It's a big item to ship, but yeah, golf clubs. If you see the names TaylorMade, Titleist, Jazz, Cleveland, there's really only 4 names you need to know, and you can do well in golf clubs. I'm not guilty of this, but I know a lot of golfers who, just like having the latest phone, they want the latest driver. So they're buying the new driver this year. They're dumping their one from last year for $5 or $10.
Wow.
And it's something that they paid $150 or $250 for, and yeah, so often you can get a decent driver for $5 and flip it for $60, $80, even $100. So yeah, golf clubs. If you're not, do a little research on them. Just type it into eBay and see what's top selling on there. But also, don't be afraid to piece it together. I do that so much. I have 2 extra putters, 3 extra drivers. I'm looking for some irons right now, and I think 3 bags just sitting in my shed waiting for some irons to go with them. And yeah, don't be afraid to piece that stuff together because there's huge profits in golf clubs. If you didn't already know, I feel like I'm sharing things today that a lot of people know are valuable, but I'm trying to suggest a different way to market it and to get it, to source it. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I used to do golf clubs and more specifically drivers, right? Only.
Yeah.
Because drivers are really where the kind of like the big bucks are. But E-Money, my brother, still does drivers, and he's always coming back with like burners and like RBZs or rocket balls, I guess is what they call them.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff like that. He's always coming like some crazy stuff, and he finds it at Goodwill for like no more than like $5. I think the max that Goodwill will charge for a good driver here in this town will be $6.99.
Really?
Yeah, that's the max I've ever seen a driver at Goodwill.
Like
it's crazy.
I've often thought about scenarios like that where, golf is year round where you're from. And like you said, everybody has a set of clubs. They're unloading them, giving them to the thrift stores, and like $7 at a thrift store. Like, I feel like I could come there and buy 100 drivers in the course of a week just on Craigslist and at thrift stores and on Facebook for $5 a piece and bring them back here, and get $50 a piece for them so easily, just because the supply is so huge in your area compared to mine where we only golf 4 months a year. So
Yeah, the one thing that I think I switched away from drivers and I got more into tennis rackets. So I did a fair amount of tennis racket flipping in the past year. So I seem to see a lot more tennis racket hustles in this town than driver hustles. But my brother, who has an eye for drivers,
Hmm.
does half and half. He does just as many tennis racket hustles as he does driver hustles. So
And does
anyway,
E-Money even golf?
no,
No.
we drive balls at the Top Golf. It's a place here that you can drive golf balls at. It's like an adult arcade, or adult
Okay.
version of our arcade, except with golf stuff. Like
I
it's crazy.
I thought you were gonna say you drive golf balls at cars on
No,
the freeways.
no, 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 no.
I'm
Um,
I'm joking.
I know. So the last one I want to talk about real quick, my eight, I guess this is number 7, but is radio control. Everyone's going to know, like, yeah, he's going to talk about radio control car stuff. Yeah, and that is what I want to talk about. Like radio control car and truck stuff that is more or less hobby grade stuff is very, very good stuff to resell. So while I can't even remotely cover what to look for or what's the best thing, I'll give you some of the best brands to hustle right now. One of the brands is Traxxas, Traxxas. Definitely look at that. There's several models. Every brand I want to tell you has a ton of models that are hobby grade radio controlled cars. The other one that's really good, Axial is pretty good, Axial. Losi is good, Team Losi, Losi. There's Team Associated, which is basically almost the same thing these days. We have HPI, which is not bad either, HP and I. There's Tamiya, if you're looking for vintage stuff, Tamiya. I know I'm forgetting a bunch right now because I'm on the spot, but vintage, yeah, radio controlled stuff is absolutely amazing. If you're going to get into vintage radio controlled consumer grade cars and trucks, then Tyco and Nico are probably one of your better bets to go with. But current day Tyco and Nico is pretty terrible to hustle, so don't mess with that. But yeah, radio control car stuff, it's always something in the statement I always say is I've never been burned by a radio control hustle yet to this date. And that is super, super true. There's just a good amount of money there and a lot of people that want it. Like I've noticed this, like if I got something good that's radio control car truck related, it doesn't last very long. It does not last. There's always a market there. It's just the way it is. Someone in the feed just said, we got 77 people watching and only 31 likes. I know they're just taking the information. They're lurking, But yeah, do me a favor. Like we realize we can't see you guys like clapping or like amen Bonafide and amen Richard, like speak the truth about garage sales and what to resell. But if you do like the content, it's very important, instead of clapping, it's just to hit the like button. That's the way we see that this was a good show. And when you get a chance, take a look at the first link down below, and that's Richard's channel, right? You can see basically a garage sale fanatic from Canada. Like that's what his channel is all about. Like what he buys and resells. When's your next video going back up, or when's your next video going up, Richard?
I won't have anything till Friday, so
Okay.
look for some fresh content on Friday. But there's definitely some good ones from the past week. I try and edutain. I want to educate and entertain at the same time. So forgive me if I get a little goofy. I'm passionate about garage sales. I love them. They're a super thrill. I'm blessed to do it. I really wish everybody could have the luxury we have, Chris, of getting out to yard sales and working for yourself. I mean, yeah, it's a grind some days, but to be able to sit here in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon and do a YouTube chat with you, with my garage door open, looking at the beautiful weather, like who gets to do that, right? Not very many people. So certainly if you're just watching this and you haven't really jumped in with both feet to yard sales, I suggest you certainly take a shot. I was going to put you on the spot though. I know that was terrible etiquette for me to leave the screen for 30 seconds, but I got this box of remote control stuff that I've never really bought any before, Chris, but I bought it because it was $1 a piece, and I was going to put you on the spot. Like, look, this person was selling this stuff for $1. I mean, I have no idea if they even work, but I saw one of your shows once that said even if it's not working, people will buy this stuff for parts. Like it looked like it had age on it. I don't really know.
Squish the tires. Tell me, do the tires squish?
Yes,
Are they super squishy or kind of hard squishy?
They're a little bit hard squishy.
All right. So that's one of the that's going to be one of the ones that'll probably be a pass. Let's see that
Okay.
next one. That's a very common one right there. That's more of like a flea market RC right there.
Okay.
That one won't have much of any inherent value. Let's see what else you got. I'm just curious. Typically, if I see those first two, the same person's going to be buying
Would you have
along the
passed on
same
them for
grade.
$1?
Would I have passed on them for $1? I'm going to admit, yes, I would have. Only because I know a fair amount about this stuff, and what that stuff is a lot of current day consumer grade radio controlled stuff. What else is in that box? I'm just curious. I
Oh,
want to
that's it.
see.
You saw the three, and then
Oh,
there's
okay.
yeah, and then there's just the remotes for them, and yeah,
Charger.
Nico. Yeah, you
Yeah,
said
so
that's the
current
low
day, yeah,
brand.
current day Nico, current day Tyco, not really worth too much. It's the vintage Nico, the vintage Tyco, that's like 80s, like, and even some early 90s stuff is stuff to really look forward to
So learn
finding.
from my mistakes, people.
Well, it's good. The good thing about what you did is that's $3. Like if you can't lose $3 in this game, then you shouldn't be in this game. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it is. Now, someone in the feed said, "Hey, Bonafide, let them know about the really gold tip, which is about the crawler bodies." Man, I feel like I've done the crawler body talk so many times on YouTube, but I'll show you guys right now what that's all about because it's easy to get this mistaken, and I'll show you what to look for. So let me just take one right here. Nico, FJ, blah blah. Okay, I've done this hustle so many times. Like, in fact, the funny thing is, I was watching someone else's YouTube channel last week. They had shown up to our green room meetup. On the way to our meetup, or maybe here in Austin, they sourced one of these, and they're like, "Oh, that's gonna be an easy $125 right there." And I think they sourced it for like $1 or $2. But yeah, so this is this is one of the things to look for. Okay, if you're gonna look for anything out there that's current day radio controlled, I'm gonna give you a little cheat and a little hack right now. It's called the Nico FJ Cruiser. Okay, it looks like this. This is what it's going to look like at a garage sale. This is one of the most deceiving ones because the tires are not going to be squishy. They're going to be hard. The controller is worthless. Everything is pretty much worthless on this truck except for the body, right? There's 4 screws that anchor that body down to the truck. No one cares about the truck. Everyone wants the body. The body sells for around 80 to 125 on eBay, just the body. Why is that? I'll show you right now. Because people take that body, which is actually very constructed very well, they detach it from the actual truck, right? You detach it, and it's a very strong, I wouldn't even say it's polycarbonate. It's very hard plastic, and they put it on professional grade crawlers like this. See, the tires on that now are very squishy. They're able to go around rocks and grip. And inside, like this crawler right here that you're looking at, it's probably a $500 to an $800 crawler with all the, anodized aluminum that the person used under the belly and all that kind of stuff. But this is what people are doing. They're taking that awesome Nico body. Okay, so I'm going to give you one big tip here. You look for this thing right here at a thrift store. Look for this at a garage sale. And then take the body off of it. It comes in 2 colors. There's a blue one and there's a yellow one. All right, that's your little hookup for today. I think let me see if I can find a really good one. Oh yeah, they might even make a gray one too. So there's a gray one right there on someone's table. But yeah, so I'm not saying that if you take it and you put it on eBay, you're going to get $800. No, you buy it in this condition right here, and you take all that cheap stuff off. It's 4 screws underneath. You detach the body, you throw that on eBay, and then that's how you make good money. So it's pretty simple. I mean, that's all it is. People paint them. Like this person decided to keep the Nico stickers, but paint his top yellow, and they put it on their own crawlers. That's what they do. And then they go out to meets with them and they do stuff like this. They put their crawlers in water and they follow each other, and it's a little toy and it's cool. And if you take a good picture like this, you don't even know if it's real or a toy anymore. You're like,
yeah,
I can't tell, and that's what scale crawling is all about. It's about building something that looks real, that is to scale, but that is actually just a crawler. It's like, people build, here's another one that's been painted right here. And you can see it kind of looks like, damn, that looks like a real truck, like in some mud, So that's really the big one right there you should look forward to. Now, if you really want to take it to the next level and you want the supercharged version of the FJ Cruiser, like the one that really is like the most elusive one, I found it about 4 times over. There's one called the New Bright Jeep Wrangler. And I'll cap off the show with this, man. All about giving you guys some value, but we're going to look at the New Bright Jeep Wrangler, right? It's called, see, I put in New Bright Jeep here in Google, and it says New Bright Jeep body, New Bright. So it's just body is definitely one of them because people want just the body, right? Because that's what it's all about. So I'll show you what the thing looks like when you find it in the wild. Let me see if I can find it, man. These are all super good ones. This like, I don't know. I get so jazzed up about this because, so here's one that like people might be like, are you talking about this one, Bonafide? This little short stubby thing? No, like do not buy this one. Okay. I'll show you the one to buy in about 1 second. It's hideous looking. Like, it looks stupid. It looks terrible. It kind of looks like this. This is actually one of the more desired ones. It looks bigger like this. It's made out of cheap plastic. Like all that stuff's cheap. 4 screws underneath. Take the body off, right? It'll look like this after you take the body off. It's a 4-door Wrangler. It'll look like that. All right, this is someone building their crawler build right now. And then they take that, and they, oh, here's what the original one looks like. This is exactly what you need to be looking for, this thing right here. All right, 4 bolts underneath, take the body off, and then throw it to a real scale crawler, and you get something like this.
Nice.
It's like with working LED lights and like freaking anodized aluminum bumpers and full articulation shocks. I mean, to the point where it's ridiculous, man. What'd you say?
You have a few yourself?
I used to be into this. Yeah, I used to be like crazy into this stuff, and I used to build crawlers and stuff. And here's someone's little winter wonderland. You know, they put the body on something. It's in the snow. That's a fake picture. That's a toy, right?
Yeah,
like, it's not 2 people in there. Those are like action figures in there. Those aren't real people. So you can see there's big money in this kind of stuff, but you're going to have to be able to spot it, take it off like that, put it on a table, take pictures like this, 12 pictures on eBay. And this right here is a $125 body or more on eBay right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the 4-door one. The 2-door one's not really worth that much. And then one last one, if you can find it. This one does pretty well too. Is like the New Bright Hummer H2. If you can find that one, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So if you want to learn about this stuff, these 2 words, Nico or New Bright, and then just put crawler body in eBay, and that's how you'll learn about the whole thing.
I wrote it down. I'm getting my education too today from you, Bonafide. I wrote it down. I'm going to research that stuff because I love spending $5-10 and flipping it for 100, and it looks like that's what you can do in the reselling of those remotes.
It's a funny comment in here, and I think it goes to both of us. It says, "Do you ever feel like you were born for this business?" It's a good comment. I like that one.
I do.
Yeah.
Actually.
Did we go over your last one, or are we on your last one right now?
You know what? We kind of doubled up on the bikes thing there, okay. So it's kind of covered. I was maybe going to talk a bit about cell phones, but I think it might just be maybe a bit of a niche market for where I'm at and in Canada. So, but it's definitely something I watch out for. Cell phones these days, they've changed regulations where I'm from, and carriers can no longer charge you to have phones unlocked. You know, to switch from carrier to carrier, people have to pay $29-$39. Is it the same there for you guys?
I don't know if we have mandated stuff like that, but
yeah, carriers would always say, yeah, well, you can switch it from this carrier to this carrier, but we're going to charge you $39 to unlock it from the other carrier. That no longer applies, so it's really opened up the cell phone market. Like, you know, I got two iPhone. They're iPhone 4s, but they're in great shape. They were only $5 each. I love the.
Is that a case? What is that thing, man?
Yeah, it's plastic, but yeah, it looks like brass knuckles. I love it.
Whoa.
I think I actually saw this on like Jerry Maguire or something like that. A case like this. Anyways, don't shy away from cell phones. Just make sure the screen is not cracked. Make sure that it's not iTunes or locked to somebody's account before you buy it. And don't be afraid to buy this outdated stuff, because the way I actually sell them, I just sell them as mini computers. A lot of people want a second or third screen at home, and they don't want a 40-inch TV, but something else that they can watch YouTube videos on, surf the web, whatever. I just sold one yesterday. The person will probably never hook it up. It's this one here. It was just a Nokia Lumia, um, standard cell phone, Windows phone. For $2, I got that for, and I sold it yesterday for $50 because the lady, her son wanted something to play games on, something to watch YouTube on, and it's never going to actually get hooked up. So I'll buy outdated cell phones. Well, as long as they're touchscreen, you know, all day long for $2 and $5 because another one I sell locally just constantly for $50.
Cool. So I think that's pretty much the end of the show. I think we covered out 8 very resaleable garage sale items. I'm going to ask one last time, if you did like the content, make sure you hit the like button to this video. Now, you see this other person here on my screen, we got to show him some bona fide hustler love. So people from my channel, please go check out the first link down below. That is his channel, Flippin4ALivin. That's right, a garage sale maniac out of Canada. I think it's just a really interesting, I don't know. It's just very interesting that, you know, like we always think it's just from the States is who we can get on these Google Hangouts. We got people from Canada now that love doing the same things as we do, except you guys do it differently. And to add to your amazing story, you know, on the months that you can't source in Canada, you're actually considering traveling to the States to do more sourcing, right?
That is absolutely going to happen. We're going to do it for 1 month, our first time. My wife and I get out of the winter, go somewhere else and source for a month. I know without a doubt that we'll be able to survive just on what I buy and flip, and basically live there for free. And if it's a success, then we'll bump up to 3 or 4 months the next winter season. So yeah, really looking forward to that. We're not sure where we're going to land yet. I got to say that Texas really entices me, and California and Florida. I don't know which is the best state overall for yard sales.
Honestly, Austin is terrible. Now that I think about it, it's the worst. Yeah. This is the worst city on earth now. Like, yeah. I would, if I were you, I would go towards Florida. You know, go affect those people a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry. I won't scoop anything from you. I can't imagine you probably kick yourself sometimes. You put out such amazing content. You have such a huge following now. You probably have so many people that are pulling out of your pocket by beating you to yard sales. Do you ever regret it?
No, I don't. I really don't. I have a very abundance-based mentality, and it's just one of those things, you know. I think for what it's affected me, the amount of positivity it has spread out there and the amount of food and extra payments it's put on people's lives and tables, you know, like I think I look at it that way. And yeah, if I lost, you know, 50 grand out of this entire thing from all the information I divulged, but outside of that, I, you know, impacted several hundreds of thousands of dollars in people's lives across the world. I think that's a little bit more important of a trade that everybody in this life should do. I still feel as if I find things all the time. So I'm not too worried about it, but I know there's probably I'm fairly confident there are a lot of things that I'm not coming across because I've thought about it, but that's okay. I think it's just all of YouTube in general. It cannot just be me, but yeah, abundance-based mentality, I think, is the thing that prevails the most. I think it's just a good thing to do, you know. And one day when I want to maybe live off my knowledge or like, you know, live through teaching, like people will go like, yeah, well, you know, he's put in the wrench time, and we will, you know, we're okay with that, you know, like he knows what he's doing. So we'll see.
I already knew the answer to that question. You're a genuine individual. I know you're, yeah, and I feel the same way too. Like I wanted to do a YouTube channel because I just am so in love with this industry, and I want everybody to be able to have the freedom and comfort and joy that I get out of it. Like, because anybody can do it. I say it all the time. You don't have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to go outsourcing. Just buy things that are current, that you use on a daily basis. Buy it at 5 or 10 cents on the dollar, sell it at 40 or 50 cents on the dollar, and you will make money. You don't need to know anything more. If you learn about antiques and rare items, that'll be beneficial, but you don't have to know that stuff to be successful at this. So
there you go. Amazing words spoken by Rich at Flippin4ALivin. So go check out his channel. It's the first link down below. I wish we had a little bit more time for Q&A here in the feed, but this show has dragged on well past an hour, and I want to make sure you guys get the time that you need to do with your families and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate that you've done an hour and 15 minutes here on my channel. Do us a solid favor, hit the like button and subscribe to Richard's channel. First link down below. We'll see you on the next Bonafide Hustler Hangout. Take it easy. Goodbye.